Overcoming rider fear. When I started riding my Andalusian gelding several years ago, he was young and I was absolutely crippled with fear. I've ridden to the highest levels of classical dressage and horsemanship from being totally scared, so scared that I couldn't even stand on the mounting block and mount my horse. And I want to share with you today the exact formula that I've used to keep myself on track, right? To help me to make the right choices. Because riders need to have longevity. It's not an easy thing to ride horses. And so we need to have longevity. We need to sustain our success with our horses. And not just have it be a fluke that one time it worked and then maybe it won't work the next time. And so what we need is a process to manage our fear. Hi, my name is Chris Adderson and I'm the founder of the Harmony for the Horse program. The first one is risk versus capability. You may be terrified of failing, perhaps. So what happens is that we fear something that will be worse off than we were before. So if we do this activity, say riding our horse or whatever it is with your horse, we fear that we'll be worse off after than we were before. I'll never get to ride my horse, or I'll never get to enjoy my horse, or I'll get injured, or worse off than that. It's just going to be a totally horrible experience. I might hurt my horse, these kinds of things. So one core way that I've found is to ask ourselves this question. If I never get to ride my horse with confidence, what else would make it worth taking this risk? Write that down because that's really important. What long-term capabilities am I building? So there's a lot to riding your horse, and we are always we're seeking safety and security, aren't we? We maybe have a passion for our horse. We want the best for our horse. We want to make a difference. Maybe we want a partnership. Maybe we want to get the highest levels of competition, whatever. But what it comes down to is it's ultimately about a sensation or a feeling or an emotion that we want to feel. So we have scary situations with our horses, and in the past maybe we didn't process them, or it may be not even related to horses, but they're failed attempts. So you have failed attempts, and then time passes and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and maybe there's another failed attempt, and then it just gets bigger and it gets bigger. And then what? It's like a crushing anxiety that you have, which is actually the enemy of riding in harmony. It's the enemy of what we want to accomplish. So this is where you ask yourself the question that I mentioned to you earlier. If I never blank, right? Let's say, for example, amount to any kind of rider, or if I never ride a piaffe, right? For example, if I never blank, what capability am I looking to build over the next 5 years? And that's the key part. The 5 years is the key part, okay? The 5 years is what helps you to remove any distractions. That squirrel type stuff where you're like going over here and you're going over here and you're getting a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's like hurry, do. And it's just distractions. Everybody maybe is following a certain guru that you've heard of, and so I need to do that, and so you go and you follow that person and you do their stuff. Oh, but now I need to do this. When you say this statement to yourself, or write it down is what I want you to do, it separates the momentary thing or the tactic, and it puts in a long-term gain. So it changes things completely. And I know it did for me. Write this for yourself, if you haven't already done so, on your piece of paper. If I never, and then put in your outcome, like for example, reach Grand Prix dressage, or learn to ride my horse outside or help my horse, whatever it may be. What capability or what potential are you looking to build over the next 5 years? And by the word capability, what I mean, and for me, when I've done this exercise over the years for myself, when I've had fear come up for one reason or another, capabilities might be, for example, like to be good at understanding my horse. I want to maybe deepen the relationship with my horse, or become proficient at in-hand work, or build trust through liberty work. Those are examples of what might be capabilities that you would want to build over the next 5 years. Number 2 is you want to examine stories and re-script them. So in our Harmony for the Horse program, this is what we do. And if we were to work together, you'd be working one-on-one with us on the mindset every end of things, using all different kinds of modalities. So it's not just one modality, it's a combination that works really effectively. And what we're doing is we're helping you to integrate the subconscious with the conscious. Our subconscious is 90% of us, and the conscious is 10%. So think about that for a second. If 90% of us is subconscious and 10% is conscious, the conscious part is what sets your direction, right? It's what your intention is. And if there's a problem, if you're stuck, what the problem is that there's a tug of war, and that's why we're stuck. It's a tug of war between the subconscious and the conscious, and you get locked in that place. And so which do you think is going to win? If you've got 90% and 10% and they're pulling against each other, the subconscious is going to win every time, isn't it? So our purpose in the mindset section of our program is to get your subconscious on board with your conscious choices and decisions and your intention. So your conscious choice is, I just want to ride my horse and have fun, for example. But there's all this fear behind it, right? There's all this subconscious stuff that's getting you stuck and you can't get out of it. And I'll give you an example of one of our students in our program, just what I was saying. She just wanted to ride and enjoy her horse and have fun because she knew that she'd had that experience when she was younger. But she had so much fear from a previous fall, and actually several falls that she had had previously, that she couldn't even muster up the courage to get the saddle out, to tack up her horse. And so, of course, with that much fear, then she went into self-sabotage. And she didn't even know this was going on until we worked through our program with her, and she found out what was actually happening. And then she no longer had the behaviors that would sabotage her success with her horse. And she started to get success with her horse, but not only that, in her personal life as well. So here's the format that I'm telling you about here. It's FSS. All right, so F stands for fear. That's the first one. The second one is story. The third one is substitute. Okay, so let's talk about fear first of all. Number 1. So I want you to take a couple of seconds right now with your pen and paper, and I want you to write down what your fear is. Okay, it'll only take a couple of seconds. Like, I'm fearful of cantering. I can't canter. Or maybe I'm always tense when I'm on my horse, and that scares me. Those are just examples. So I want you to sit with this. Like if you do this on your own later, I want you to sit with this and bring your body along with the ride in this. This is not only our intellect. Where do you feel this physically in your body? And zone into that, because that's the place that's behind all of this. We know what's in front of it. We know what we're thinking. That's the easy part. It's what's behind that that really matters. The next one is story. Okay, so what is your story? What is it that really hurts you? What is the meaning you are making of this fear? What is the story telling? What are you telling yourself in this story? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to handle if my horse is going to spook. I don't know how to handle that situation. It bothers me when I'm scared that I'm not helping my horse. So what's bothering you most? What's your story? Write it down. Okay? And what we're doing here is we're bringing awareness. We're asking these questions of ourselves, but what I want you to do is I want you to ask the questions to the part behind us, the unconscious part. And so this is what I want you to do. I want you to write on pieces of paper, little pieces of paper, what you've written down here, and put them several places in your life, right? Where you might see them as you're walking by, on the fridge perhaps. You're not thinking about fear directly, but you might see it out of the corner of your eye and you go, oh, yeah, right. Okay. And in that moment, when you're not thinking about it, it'll tap into what's happening subconsciously. So I want you to do that too. I want you to put this, what you've written down as your story, around so you can see it. This will help you to see the connections that you haven't seen before, perhaps. Or you might get a completely different answer from your subconscious that you would from your conscious. And then that's when you can do something about it. And it'll help you to filter out what you are presently fearful of with your horse and see it differently. So you'll notice things differently from a completely different sense. And then we're going to go on to the third thing, which is substitute. Okay? So in this section, I don't want you to actually forget or negate your actual fears. We don't want to do that at all. We don't want to deny it. We want to do instead is to substitute another story. So we want to create objectivity. We want to create a different perspective. And we want to find out what other factors are in play here, because we have an open mind and we're willing to look at them. Examples say, okay, that story about my horse blowing out, and that means something really scary is going to come up. Maybe that's true. It really might be true. But what else is true that I can look at, that I might be open to? And I want you to write down your substitute stories for yourself. So write down the substitute story for yourself, and it can be something that you can do, right? Something that you maybe have done in other areas of your life, not horses perhaps, but something that you can do. And so I wanted to show you this format that has helped our students to move through resistance. Because restoring your fears is very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. But the way you do this is really important. You have to get the subconscious and the conscious. So your subconscious actually becomes your ally, right? It becomes your friend. Instead of pulling in the opposite direction and being 90% and then your conscious being 10, it actually becomes your friend. And so both awarenesses of both states are feeding your attention and feeding your goal. And our body becomes our ally then, instead of fighting and forcing. And we work with this in our program. We help you to move with flow too. And so that your body moves with your horse, your mind is working together as a friendship rather than fighting and pulling against each other. Otherwise, we're in fight, flight, or freeze, aren't we? If we're not, as I was just describing to you. And if we're in this mode, we basically have two options. Either you choose death or you choose survival. Nowhere in there is thriving, right? Thriving with our horse. So what we choose then is we choose to go to survival, don't we? Because you're not going to choose death, so you choose survival. And so we make short-term choices that may be not the best choices because we're in survival mode. Yeah, just like our horses. And we make self-sabotaging decisions. We interpret our horse in ways that perhaps are not really what's going on because we're in that state of fight or freeze. And so this makes it impossible for you to reach your goals with your horse. So if you're in that place that you're not going to make quality choices for yourself and your horse, then you're not fueling your confidence, because if you're not making appropriate choices, then you're going to have another mini failure, and then you're going to not make appropriate choices again, and then your confidence gets eroded again. You're reactive. You're in the reactive place, and so you're fueling your fear, and then you'll fuel your horse's fear, guaranteed. So this format that I've given you is what will help you to stay on track with that whenever you get a situation that comes up that's fearful for you. And if you want support with something like this personally that we do in our program, with creating not only your mindset that is open and willing to receive, but your true movement with your horse, and understanding your horse's behavior and movement as well, so that your horse says to you, oh, wow, I'm super happy to be with you and do stuff together with you because it feels good and it feels safe. So if that resonates with you, then there'll be a link somewhere around this video that will take you to a page where you can book a call with us and see how we can help you with your horse and how we can help you with your deep fears on this deepest level, which is the only level that can solve and help you with this issue. So if you'd like to join us and find out if this is going to work for you, then click on that link. And thanks so much for being with me. Great to see you here, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.